Thank you for joining me in this video. Welcome to Bien Chavacano, where we demystify the Chavacano language. In this video, we will discuss the real state of the Chavacano language. The health of a language could be gauged by how many people speak it in a given locale. In this video, we are going to take an objective look into the health of the Chavacano language in Zamboanga City. Whenever people, including experts, are asked how many Chavacano speakers there are in Zamboanga City, they usually throw around whatever figure that comes into their mind. Depending on their biases, they will come up with a high or low figure. Admittedly, it is hard to come by official data that will give us an accurate number of Chavacano speakers in Zamboanga City. Today, we are going to consult the 2010 Census of Population and Housing published by the National Statistics Office. Unbeknownst to many, the government conducts a survey on the languages spoken in the country every 10 years. The mid-decade census does not include this data. Unfortunately, the information that we can gather from the census is not as comprehensive as one might hope for. For example, it does not detail the number of people who speak a certain language as their mother tongue or second language. There are also some inconsistencies on the way they report data, so it is difficult to compare data from decade to decade. Sometimes they use the number of households and sometimes the number of individuals when reporting the number of speakers of a certain language. There are also instances wherein two different languages used to be counted separately but later are grouped together and counted as one. Having said that, it is still official data from the government, and although their reports make it impossible for us to compare the state of the Chavacano language over time, it does allow us to make objective and current observations on the state of the Chavacano language. In 2020, they chose to report the number of Chavacano speakers by household according to the 2010 Census of Population and Housing. 2 in every 5 households reported speaking Chavacano at home. This is 43.4% of the population at the time. This figure should not come as a surprise to anybody who lives in Zamboanga City. A quick visit to a densely populated location in Zamboanga City, such as the downtown area, will confirm that Chavacano is not the language of the majority of Zamboangueños. I have long suspected that Chavacano was no longer the language of the majority in Zamboanga City. However, since the population of Zamboanga City increases every year, I had reason to believe that the number of Chavacano speakers continue to grow and is not dwindling. With 43.4% of 803,000 individuals reporting Chavacano as the language spoken at home, this number is still significantly much higher compared to the total population of Zamboanga City in the 1970s, a time when all people say most Zamboangueños spoke Chavacano. In Hacía un corrector ortográfico para la nueva ortografía del Chavacano de Zamboanga, Marcelo Yuji Moro bravely attempts to compare the number of Chavacano speakers as a percentage of the population by decade. Imoro does admit that there may be errors in his data, as he had to compute them manually. According to his computations, the last time that Chavacano was the language of the majority was in the 1980s. While it does remain to be the dominant language over the years, the number of Chavacano speakers had been suffering an average of about 4% decline every decade. That is a worrying trend. The second language with most number of speakers in Zamboanga City is Cebuano, with 21.5%, followed closely by Tausug at 18.6%. Unfortunately, I do not have information whether these two languages are at an uptrend in terms of number of speakers in Zamboanga City. But if they retain these numbers or even increase them, Chavacano will have lost its status as the dominant language in Zamboanga City in a couple of decades. Fortunately, not all is lost. The local government, as well as Zamboanga-based Chavacano speakers, are up in arms. Today, we see a number of Facebook pages publishing posts in Chavacano, Facebook live streams doing restaurant reviews in Chavacano, YouTube blogs in Chavacano, as well as Facebook groups dedicated to the Chavacano language. All data presented in this video were published in 2010, 10 years ago, so it will be very interesting to find out what the 2020 census will reveal. There have been two significant events in the past decade that may have changed the trajectory of Chavacano, for better or for worse. The Zamboanga siege in 2013 and the Great Lockdown in 2020. The former may have contributed to a significant number of Chavacano speakers leaving Zamboanga City, as well as a post-war recovery boom that fueled a surge in the number of migrant workers in the city. The latter may have forced some Zamboangueños who have relocated to other cities in the past for economic or security reasons to go back to Zamboanga City, perhaps after losing their jobs or their businesses. The past decade had also seen the implementation of the mother tongue-based education, which brought back Chavacano as a subject in elementary schools. While the potential impact of this development on Chavacano is significant, we may only see its results after several decades. Thank you for watching this video up to the end. For more information about the Chavacano language, please visit my blog at www.bienchavacano.blogspot.com. Muchas gracias! The Little Prince is now in Chavacano. Please visit us at www.facebook.com/eljutayprincipe.